everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WOC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. So those of you who have been following me all year know that this year was a very trying year for me. 2023 was my most hectic year. It was my saddest year. It tried me so much, and my reading was kind of all over the place, and sorry to the books I read at the end of September slash most of October, because I was just grieving and stuff I read, and I was just reading to have a distraction. It did not hit me as hard. I was kind of struggling to stay focused, and so I didn't want to do a best of worst of video this year because I just had so many books that weren't necessarily my worst, but they were just I feel like this year was my most average reading year, which, by the way, at the time of filming this, my Goodreads says I read 138. I track every book I read, including picture books, so most of the picture books should be on that list, give or take like a few. And I do track the picture books because I have so many people who ask me for recs all the time, and I gift books all the time to family and friends. So I like to use Goodreads to keep track of those books, because like oftentimes publishers will send me books, I'll read them, I'll review them, and I'll give them away to the kids. So I will forget about a book unless it's sitting on my shelf or unless I have that evidence. So I decided I'm just going to give you a range from youngest to oldest of the books that I read this year that just really stood out to me instead. My worst, I don't even think I want to revisit those. A couple of them I did solo reviews for, but they were bad. Luckily, my really bad ones I just DNF'd. So let's get into it, and then I will tell you a little bit about my goals for 2024. So starting with the picture book, there were three that I think this year were really memorable for me. And one of them is The Coolest Beard, and this is by Betty Teckle and Nicholas Alexander. I can't remember if I talked about it on this channel. I know like I had a little video on my Bookstagram, which if you're not following me on Bookstagram, link is down in the description box below. Definitely check my page out. I'm always posting there, definitely more than I post here, and it's a great way to keep track of what I'm reading. And like I said, I do books across all age categories. But The Coolest Beard was really good. I actually want to gift this to my nephew. I just have not given it to him yet because I like to stagger out how I give the kids books so that they can appreciate them. But I love it because it's just this little boy. He sees his dad with this big full beard. He likes going to the barber shop with him, and he wants to be like in grown folks conversation like his dad. And he thinks if he has a beard, he can be in grown folks conversation and join in. And I just love the messaging about community in it, and we need more books like this because, one, there's just not enough books for Black boys to see themselves in. That is a huge problem, which is why I do seek out books like this. I have a nephew. He is about to be 5, and he doesn't see himself enough in his books, and he gets so excited when I give him books where he sees himself. Like, he is a reader. He will flip to the back of the book, asks about the author and the illustrator, and he will immediately jump into reading, and I love that for him. So I love seeing more books like this, and I'm going to continue to try and highlight them. So then I had La Noche Before Three Kings Day. This is by Sheila Colon Bagley and Alejandro Mesa. This is a great one too, and I want to get like an extra copy, so I have a copy here that I can read with the kids, but I also want to get a copy for my friend so that she can read it to her son. I mean, they're Puerto Rican, but they don't celebrate Three Kings Day, but we were talking about maybe that's something we'd love to do together with her son this year. And I love this one because it just shows the family togetherness of the holidays, the anticipation of waiting for gifts, the anticipation of waiting for the Three Kings to arrive, like, I know a lot of people don't know about this holiday because it is a very religious one, but it's celebrated in a lot of countries in Latin America and Caribbean, and it just commemorates when the Three Kings came to gift baby Jesus with gifts. And as somebody who grew up Catholic, it's definitely like an important holiday in Catholic culture, and it kind of marks the end of the holiday season. And then I have Santa's Gotta Go, which is by Derek Barnes and Courtney Lovett. And if you have kids and you have not added this one to your collection, you definitely need to. It's so fun. So I was like smiling and laughing reading it, and the kids had a good time with it too. So basically, these kids are super excited when Santa's sleigh crashes in front of their house. It breaks down. He needs to stay with them for a couple of days while he's waiting for a part to come in to fix it. And they find out he's not the best house guest. He likes to play his music loud. He likes to invite his friends over. He likes to eat all the food in their fridge. And after a few days, they are ready for Santa to go. So again, this should be a new holiday classic. If you have little kids, add this to your collection. So now let's get into the middle grade books that stood out to me this year. I have Curl Friends, New in Town. This is by Cherie Miller, author, illustrator, and this one is really cute too. First of all, the main character in this one was a military brat, which I've talked to Brittany from Read with Melanin about before, but there just are not a lot of books depicting military brats. Like, it's a very different experience, even if your parents are not currently active in the service. And there's not a lot of books, especially to showcase that for Black children. So I have like another friend whose father was in the military, and we were talking about it because it's something she wants to see more of, and it's something that she as an author would like to write. So this was really cool because a girl, she's a military brat, and they're actually moving back to her father's hometown. He is now out of the service and he wants to open up a business, and she's a little bit jealous of him actually because he lived there, so he's reconnecting with his old friends while she's so used to moving, and they just moved from where she felt comfortable, and now she has to make all new friends, and she feels like she has to dress a certain way and rock her hair a certain way, and if she doesn't do everything right, she's gonna miss out on her chance to make friends. So I really love that this was just so relatable to the middle school experience. I loved seeing the girls talk about hair and fashion and going to get boba, and the illustrations in this are just great too. Plus, it is the first in a series, so though there's going to be a book for each of the 4 girls. And then you have Salsa Magic. This is by Leticia Marrero, and this was really good. She is a debuter, but she's written in like a lot of magazines and stuff, and I would say her writing style is kind of similar a little bit to Elizabeth Acevedo, if you like that writing style. And I appreciated that this, for one, actually felt like middle grade, because I've read so much middle grade and attempted to read so much middle grade this year that was just too lengthy. It felt like it was speaking to adults rather than children. This has a decent length, and this is like throwback almost in a good way. It's like, even the cover I said was giving me very early 2000s vibes. It actually reminds me of the murals like in New York and Philadelphia, which is very fitting because I think this book has a lot of appeal for people who are of Latinx heritage on the East Coast. There's just a lot of little relatable things. I know in my neighborhood there are a lot of people who have moved from New York with their families. They can relate to this. This one is set in Brooklyn and follows this young girl named Maya. Her family owns a cafe, which is in an area which is currently undergoing gentrification, so they're just trying to make ends meet. She is in middle school. She's dealing with this rival on the soccer team while also dealing with her first crush, which is this girl who's her teammate, and it's super cute. But at the same time, while she's dealing with all of this, her great aunt just like comes to town from Puerto Rico, and it's like they don't talk about that great aunt. Her abuela's telling her to stay away from her. Everybody's whispering about how this aunt is a bruja, and Maya's been having these weird dreams lately, and she just is curious to know more about this Santeria that her aunt is saying that she could be good at. So I just loved everything about this. It was an amazing depiction of family. It was an amazing depiction of culture. I like the messaging about passing on traditions, but also talking about people while they're still here and sharing things with each other. That's something that I've really had to think about this year, like, and reflect on. Like, so often we won't share things with each other until after someone passes away. So I like that that was explored here. I like that she introduced different aspects of the culture to readers, so even people outside of the culture can understand, but it didn't feel like she was over explaining anything. And getting into YA, I have two for you there as well. I have Neveri, which is by Shakir Rashan, and I had mentioned this in a video I did previously, which was fantasies that are not Legendborn, and at the time I had not read it. I did read it in November, and it was a really good book. It's not being talked about enough, and I really need more people to pick this one up, because I don't think the publisher is just like doing the job that they need to do promoting this, and I'd hate to see it get lost in the shuffle. We already don't have a lot of YA fantasy written by black men out there, especially starring black boys. So this one is set in Georgia, and it's kind of like superhero-ish in that he has powers similar like to the Incredible Hulk, but give it like a dash of like African culture, and it's really good. So for one, I felt like the teens in here feel like actual teens. They talk like teens and not just suburban black teens. Like, I know we try to shy away from hood images, and people feel like anytime you have characters walking around using AAVE and not code switching, that we're falling into that urban territory that scares them. But I really appreciate a good urban fantasy, and I thought these characters were memorable. So the boy we're following in here, his name is Yasir, and he's moved to this small town. He's trying to figure out these weird new powers that he has. At the same time, he's finding himself really drawn to this girl at school for reasons he doesn't understand, and he finds out that they have a shared connection. This is the first in a series. I think there's so much to explore in book 2, and I'm hoping that more people pick this up so we can get book 2 sooner rather than later. Sing Me to Sleep was one that I like raced through back at the end of May. I think it took me like 2 days tops to read it because I was just like, I could not put it down. And I haven't been able to say that about a lot of books this year, so that is high praise. But it is a YA fantasy, and it follows this girl who is secretly a siren. But so by day she works as a soldier. She ends up having to go work for the royal family, even though she can't stand them, because somebody is blackmailing her. By night she works as an assassin. She's doing all these jobs, killing, using her siren gift to kill men so that she can make money for her family. Somebody finds out and threatens to expose her. So the entire time she's trying to figure out who the person is who's trying to blackmail her, but they also want her to kill the prince. This was just fun, fast-paced, really, really good, and I like the writing, and I look forward to the second one in this series. Then I have two an adult that just really stood out to me this year. So I have Plantains and Our Becoming by Melania Luisa Marte. I know her as Mela. She is a poet. She's had a couple of things kind of go like a little bit viral. She's done like stuff for Facebook. She had this viral poem about being Afro-Latina, and some of her poetry is on YouTube, which is also featured within this collection if you want to check her out before you buy, but I highly recommend picking this one up. So this poetry collection is an interesting mix because it's like part memoir, part history between the Dominican Republic and Haiti. It explores what it means to be Afro-Latina. It explores what it means to be a black woman in America. It explores what it means to be as a black woman in the diaspora, what it means to be a black Caribbean woman. I just love the conversations we're having here. She talks about losing her father. She talks about unfair beauty expectations. So there was just so much goodness in this book. She talks about motherhood. Like, this was an amazing poetry collection. I don't read a lot of poetry, but this one was one that I was really looking forward to ever since she did the audiobook for Clap When You Land. She had done the audiobook, and she did a live with Elizabeth Acevedo. That put her on my radar, and I've been following her ever since, and I just love the conversations that she has. She's introduced me to a lot of great people that I follow now online. So definitely check this one out. Like I said, she has videos on YouTube. She has a couple of that are poems in this book that are really beautifully filmed, so highly recommend. The God of Good Looks. This one took me by surprise. So I wanted to read it because it's a Trinidadian author. I'm trying to read more Caribbean literature. I mean, I read a lot of books by Caribbean authors, but sometimes like it can get a little traumatic and heavy for me, so I have to like take a break because I'm like, how much pain do I want today? And I felt like this was a little bit different in that like we weren't dealing with like the heavy sexual assault. So that was already a plus for me. And this is set in the fashion industry, which strangely enough, a lot of people are like, did not realize like is a fashion industry in Trinidad and Tobago. And we're concerned that that part was unrealistic. And I'm like, Sasha Cosmetics had a setting powder that was pretty big like globally in the beauty community for a while. And I remember them doing like fashion week things and stuff in the Caribbean. Like, there are designers there. There are people who have boutiques. Like, they have their own fashion culture there. So I love that this showcases a different side of the Caribbean. I listened to it when I like was reading it, and the audiobook was just so amazing. For one, it had actual Caribbean accents, or at least like the one actor that did a really good one. So that just brought the story to life for me. I love the conversations we have here about misogyny and sexism in Caribbean culture and the double standards, because we're following two different characters. So we're following Bianca, and she's ostracized after having an affair with a public official. He's perfectly fine. Everybody's gonna vote for him still, but she's labeled a slut and blacklisted even though she comes from a prominent family. Nobody wants to work with her. She wants to be a writer, so she ends up taking this job for this fashion magazine run by Obadiah, who is like the self-proclaimed god of good looks. He is bitchy and nasty, and he runs not only this fashion mag, but he does makeup because he has his own company, and he's really trying to make ends meet as well, so he needs her help even though he doesn't want to admit it. And I know a lot of people aren't gonna like it because like the first time they meet it's very explosive, and he says some stuff about her weight as a fashion model, which is going to make people angry. Fashion does have a standard of how they want models to look. That is just unfortunately the way it is. He does regret what he says later to her, and we do see her kind of learning to love herself as she is. But the writing in here was just brilliant, and I actually saw this one when I was in DC recently at the train station, and I was so excited, like, because I'm like, oh my gosh, more people are going to discover this one. But it's such a good one. If you have not picked it up, pick it up. I highly recommend it, especially if you are of Caribbean descent. There's just so much in here that is recognizable that you'll really enjoy. So those were my standout books for the year. As far as channel goes, I really don't have too many for 2024. Like, I had all these plans and then everything kind of changed in 2023, and right now my biggest thing is I have gotten back into writing, and I'm currently working on 2 stories. So I'm working on a Christmas romance, and that's coming along really well. I got a lot of that written between November and December, and I'm also working on a YA urban fantasy project that I have kind of put on the back burner because I was in the Christmas spirit, but I'm gonna be hopping back into in January, and I'm hoping to finish that by the spring. And I think that for me, I'm not going to do as many videos as I was doing for most of the year. Like, you're not going to see the weekly videos from me. You're probably only going to get maybe like 1 to 2 videos a month, or just a video whenever I feel like it, because I am doing a lot of different things. So it's been hard to keep up with my 3 different platforms, and right now I find it very easy to just sit down and throw up a quick reel rather than sit and film a long form video. And I have my book reviews that I do for my blog that will give you like more in-depth perspective on my thoughts on some of these books. So I've been mostly focusing on that content in between writing. I am currently on a job hunt, so I don't know how much that's going to take up or what my job is going to look like the next couple of months when I do finally get a new role. So I don't want to make too many promises, and I just want to make being on this platform fun. So you'll see me probably pop up for writing sprints here and there. I might do like a read along here and there, maybe do some collaborations. I want to do more video interviews with authors. I did do one for the authors of Ghost Roast, which is a YA graphic novel that is coming out on January 2nd. So definitely check that one out. That one was another great one, and just stay tuned for more on this channel. So if you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!